for us today on Get Your Sexy Back After Sexual Trauma. And what I love about Julie is that she is the money chick. And because she's the money chick, and she's just as, she loves life as fully and as wonderfully as I do, that what a great partner on this live stream today. I have no idea where the conversation is going to go, because, we're going to be talking about sex and power and money and how to get it in your 40s and, 50s and 60s and beyond, and how to enjoy your body even if you've never enjoyed it before, even if you've always been locked down, how to enjoy food and smells and touch and colors and really make a life that's sexy for yourself, even if you're still in a toxic relationship with someone. So, Julie, do you want to tell everybody a little bit about yourself and why you're hanging out with me today?
Well, Julie Murphy, like she said, I am a financial planner, actually. And I realized years ago that we either work things out or we act it out, and we do it through our money, through our health, or through our relationships. And so I found Rita well over a year ago because I was leaving a toxic marriage. And I've known for years that, it all acts out in our second chakra. And when we don't build our lives from the inside out, and we don't do that because of the traumas that we experienced in our childhoods, and then we repeat these suffering cycles over and over again. And again, those suffering cycles are, you might be creating a lot of debt in your life, or toxic relationships, or both, or chronic health problems. They're all interrelated, that if you fix the relationship stuff, then it's going to show up in your debt and act out in your money. And if you don't, and I watched clients of mine just play this pinball game between the three areas of their life. And it's like, enough. Let's actually get to the core stuff so that you can flourish and thrive no matter what season of life you are in. Because I don't care if you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. That doesn't matter. It has nothing to do with your age. Because I got to tell you, it's a lot of fun after getting divorced. And then I'm like, I get to have sex with other people now? What? Like, that is amazing in your 40s because you know what the hell you're doing.
Funny. That's so funny. So I know a lot of women found me because they had some sort of sexual trauma that had happened to them. I found sadly that this was pretty common. And it's the sort of thing where when something happens to you when you're little, you don't have the resources to deal with it. And it just sort of gets stuffed. And it gets stuffed down in, like what you said, the second chakra. And for me, it created all sorts of digestive issues. I was constantly locked up. I was always, I couldn't digest food. I couldn't eat most of the time when I was stressed out. I had a nervous stomach all the time. And I certainly couldn't enjoy being with anyone. I certainly couldn't enjoy, being with my husband, for example, because I was all locked down. Right. And I couldn't, there was almost like a constant congestion or weight, down in my belly. And I just figured that was me.
Inflammation. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. It turns into IBS, and I first started to get help for that soon after I got married. I went to the doctor, and this is how women end up in these challenges. I went to the doctor and I said, hey, when I just got married, I really love my husband, but I'm not, I have problems with getting interested, with wanting to be connected with him. And is there anything you can do? Is there something wrong with me? And the doctor at the time, who'd been a family doctor, but not mine, his family, said, well, relationships are hard. And I'm like, really? That's the advice you're giving me as a primary care doctor, that relationships are hard, and that's going to fix all my tension and stress that makes me want to run away when I come out of the shower and there's a candle lit? That's going to solve my problem. Can't you give me something? Can't you give me Xanax or something? prescription pot, something, anything.
Oh, so true.
Relationships are hard. And I felt really betrayed by, the medical system, and betrayed by therapists, and, around the sexuality issue, around this feeling that I was too
supposed to talk about it, right? Like that's the taboo thing. I grew up in an Irish Catholic household.
Yep, me too.
My mom didn't even talk to me about getting my period. It was like,
or shaving your legs.
Things like, and let alone the fact that as it unpacked in my life, my trauma was the fact that I was sexually molested by a Catholic priest that came to all of our family parties. And he then later on spent 20 years in jail up in the state of Wisconsin. And then nothing was talked about, right? So it's layer upon layer upon layer, not to really come out of my subconscious mind until after I finally decided to get divorced, because it was such a deep, dark memory that I actually didn't remember. I just knew that I would repeat these patterns in my relationships. And I was like, okay, no more. Like, we're going to actually heal what was causing it all in the first place. And then to your point, like, I want to thrive. I want to have fun. I'm vibrant and ready to go. Like, hey.
I know. And the 40s and 50s are actually for women quite a peak, of sensuality, and quite a peak of the body finally being ready. And I know I spent my whole life thinking this is the way that it's going to be. Are you kidding me? Congested and freaky and oversensitive and anxious around anything like that. Is this what the rest of my life is going to be like? I don't want that, because I love food. I love colors. I love scents. And to feel that somehow I'm not enjoying my body because I'm stressed out, it made me so angry. And so you followed the symptoms. You said, what's my symptom? I keep creating this pattern. What's underneath it? And then that's when the memory was, able to surface. Mine was like, I have pissed away too much of my life.
Right?
You sit there and you're like, I have spent how many years feeling like this? It's got to stop. And then when you start doing the uncovering, and the emotions are able to come up, once they're gone, those emotions we've been carrying for decades, you're like liberated and free, and your body works, and you're like, oh, this is what it's supposed to be like. Isn't this fun? Why, thank you very much.
Well, and what's super interesting to me is, like, I thought I married somebody that I had a deep, soulful connection with. Nope. But I found that now. And it's off the charts amazing.
Oh, yeah.
It's really like when you allow yourself to let your personal freak flag fly, is what I like to know. Like, be your authentic self, be who you are from every aspect. Then you can attract that person you want to share that with. Because if you're not authentically being you, and you're trying to, like, make yourself picture perfect, or you're a perfectionist, or the way society says you're supposed to show up, you know what? Those days are done. It is time to stop suffering. That if you don't really like to do that, don't do it.
Stepping into that power of deciding this is what we're going to do. I've got a good friend who they would get angry at me when I would say something and they would rebut it in some way. And I'd be like, no, you don't understand. And the point that they were trying to get across to me was, no, decide what you're going to do, put your flag in the ground, don't justify it, don't explain it, just do it, and nobody can really stop you. You think they can stop you, but they can't.
Right.
So did you ever remember what it was like then, with the memories that were uncovered after your divorce? Did you ever remember what it felt like when your priest would still show up at all those family functions after the incident?
Here's what I remembered. Every time this priest would come to a family party, I just remember, like, scowling at him. And I didn't even know, this is the only memory I have in my 40s of just being like, oh. And I remembered one of my dad's best friends' son was in diapers at a family party, and he was running around, and somehow the diaper wound up around his knees, and he was running around naked. And this priest had this like laugh, and he was sitting in the corner, and I was just like, that laugh just goes through my system, because it was like, oh, that is not good, because he's a major pedophile. Like, he got to hundreds of kids, this priest. And I just remember in the basement of my parents' house, that priest laughing and the kid running around butt naked, and this priest just laughing a little bit too much, like, and it wasn't until I did a hypnotherapy appointment that after my divorce was over, because the person I was working with said to me, you know, you're still being triggered by your ex-husband, and if we actually got to the core emotional wound as to what that is, he wouldn't be triggering you anymore. So today we're going to go after it.
Right, because you're an adult. Yeah.
Right. So then that's when I remembered, I was like, it like literally unfolded like a movie. I saw where it happened in my parents' house, and his face walking away from me. And it was just like, oh, like and to me, it was interesting. The minute that hypnotherapy session was over and I had the next encounter with my ex-husband, nothing triggered.
He didn't trigger you, did he? Yeah, because you unpacked the emotions. It's like a miracle.
Yeah, I shined the light on the dark that was buried in my subconscious mind.
Yes.
And it was like, I just broke out of jail.
You were free. You were liberated.
And all I had to do was look at it.
Yes. And
like
be with it in a safe way. It was amazing. I know. For me, it was, I had all these memories, but I didn't have the emotional reaction to them. You know, all my life, I remember the first incident happened when I was 4. And I remember when I was like 6 sorry, my headphones checked out for a second. All I could remember was looking at a little pamphlet in the back of Sunday school that said, have you been molested, you know, or you know, watch stranger danger or whatever. And I'm flipping through it and like, oh yeah, that happens. That's no big deal. You know, I totally was shut down and shut off from what had happened to me. And even though I had the crystal clear memory of everything, to me, it was like, no, nothing happened. It was fine. And then further incidents that happened, I remembered them. And I was like, no, it was fine. I mean, it really took someone to trigger me in order for me to get in touch with those emotions so that I could release them. And so, you know, I didn't even know I had a problem. I just thought that I was screwed up and my body was screwed up and I was hypersensitive. And this was, you know, you're always feeling like you're on the defensive, so you can never get ahead. And it took somebody who would trigger me and was tougher than me for me to step into those experiences and allow myself to feel them and let them go. And so it was just a lot of denial.
Well, and it was interesting as my story unpacked. So I was at actually it was my cousin's bridal shower, and I was sitting next to one of my aunts, and she said, hey, did you see that article in the paper about Father Mayday? And I was like, yeah, because he had gotten out of jail at age 82. And I was like, ugh. I go, yeah. So I decided, I told her my story. I was like, this is what just unpacked a few months back, and blah, blah. And she goes, she pulls me aside at the end of the bridal shower and she says, Julie, it all makes sense now. I said, what's that? She goes, your mother used to call me up when you were a little girl. And she's like, Alice, I don't know what it is. She just stopped going to the bathroom. She doesn't urinate. She doesn't go to the bathroom. And it wasn't until I fell asleep at night that my bladder would release.
That you'd wet yourself.
I wet the bed.
Me too.
And then I wound up at 8 years old, so this guy did this to me when I was 4 or 5 years old.
Mhm.
And by the time I was 8, because it affects your physiology, right? How
Yes.
you're emotionally processing what has occurred to you.
Yes.
I wound up having surgery to clean out the tubes leading from my kidneys to my bladder.
Yes.
And because it was just bacteria and lower vibration stuff that had
Yes.
backed up
Yes.
because this guy decided to stick his fingers up my hoo-ha, you
Right.
know, and have
Ugh.
a little fun from his
Yeah.
perspective,
How
you know,
invasive.
on a 5-year-old, you know,
Right.
and you sit there and you go, oh my God, it all makes sense now.
Right. Right.
And
Talk
it's like
about,
all these,
talk about
yeah.
narcissism, right?
Ugh.
Someone who has the gall to, to not even think about the impact. They just think, oh, it's no big deal. It really doesn't matter. And I mean, just completely selfish.
Right. Right.
Ugh.
Well, and but I got to tell you, like, you feel as free as a bird once you shine the light on it.
You sure do.
Oh my
You
gosh.
sure do. And
Right.
so the people triggering you are kind of like the arrow, the light that's saying, hey, you want to do something about this, because
Mhm.
it's not healthy for you. So
Right.
yeah, when we have trauma like that, our nervous system shuts down in that area and holds all those chemicals of emotions, holds the tension there. And
Right.
yeah, so your whole system is locked down. And of course you're you're going to get bad bacteria. Of course you're not going to pee. I would play a game with myself and I'd sit there and be like, how long can I wait before I go to the bathroom? And if I had to pee, I have a very specific memory of me sitting on the couch many times. I would do this all the time. And I'd have to pee and I'd be like, no, we're not going to pee. We're going to sit here and we're going to wait. How long can I hold out? And it was like me trying to regain my control. How long can I
Right.
keep control over this?
Right.
And,
Get it.
but you're right. It plays out in your money. It plays out in your relationships.
In your health.
And many times you have no idea it's a problem until you're like, I got to get to the root of this triggering.
We
And
don't
then
even
you're like,
realize we're
oh,
playing tennis with it either.
yeah, yeah.
Like
Oh,
that
yeah.
it's moving from your health, from your money to your,
Mhm.
relationships.
Mhm.
We don't even realize that it's all intertwined. And once you start to recognize it, I had this client who she walked into my office and she had been in a marriage, got divorced. He was abusive. He wound up being an alcoholic. She
Mhm.
finally got divorced. When she came to me, she was like, well, she had like $40,000 of credit card debt. And she looked like she was probably 30, 40 pounds overweight.
Mhm.
But most people would think that she looks like a normal American. And she's
Mhm.
like, Jewel, I just really want to get this debt thing under wraps. And I watched over 1 year, she significantly reduced her debt, but then she gained more weight. And she was always wanting to attract that man in her life.
Yes.
And she couldn't really attract the man in her life because
Mhm.
she was not living from a place of passion and purpose, right? Because
Mhm.
she was putting up with a boss that was just like her ex-husband,
Yes.
a
Yes.
narcissist,
Right.
right?
And
So
we
even
sit
though you
there.
get
I'm a
right,
little arrogant. I don't know about you, but I'm a little bit arrogant. And I'll be like, "Oh yeah, I'm fine. I've been through much worse. This is fine. I can handle this." And I almost push myself to do things and in the past, and to have people in my life that challenged me, because it's like I needed to keep standing up to the bully over and over and over and over and over, and
different
not
face,
know why.
different
Mhm.
name, same bird.
Mhm. Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
Well,
So
and
it's.
so with this person, let me just share this because
Mhm.
then
Oh yeah.
she decided to do Ironman
Mm.
contests, competitions.
Mhm.
So she got in really good shape, lost all the weight, and then her credit card debt went up to 55,000.
Oh
And she had
wow.
paid it down to 20. All
Right.
along while she was not attracting the relationship that she wanted.
Right.
And
Right.
so when I talk about, that true happiness and getting your sexy back, this is
Mhm.
about your power, feeling sexy and having your money be what you want it to be and have the
Mhm.
relationship you desire. It's because you have to start to tune into, like, what do you really want? Like this
Yeah.
woman, She ran a $2 billion non-for-profit.
Wow.
And she only made $100,000 a year.
Oh
like,
my God.
Most people who run that make like $250.
Mm-hmm.
But it's because she had this boss that she didn't value herself. So
Yes,
no one
and that's
around
the
her valued
key,
herself.
isn't it?
Yep.
When we don't value our experience and what's going on with us, when we're constantly just pushing through it and think that
Right.
there's nothing that we can do. And we all try stuff. I don't know how many things you tried. I mean, I went into shamanism, and I went to Asian medicine, and I went to energy healing. I made it my career. I'd do ritual and ceremony. I'd put, food offerings on the ground. I'd pray. I did everything. And I never felt like I was moving forward. But the reality is that they were all working together. It was all these things that I was doing was starting to work together and starting to bring me out of that hole, so I could value myself and love myself. And that was the key. Right. When I started to respect what my experience was and to stand up for it, that's when that knot went away. Right. That's when suddenly I was like, oh, I'm not holding all this tension in my diaphragm anymore. I'm holding it, and it feels really good. That's where I'm supposed to be experiencing it. Isn't that fun? It's like it moved. It was still the same excitement and the same joy, but it moved down to where it was supposed to be, instead of being stuck, screwing up my digestion. I was like, oh yeah, this is good.
Well, that's when you know when you're in your power. Like, I even noticed physiology-wise that my back would arch forward when I was giving away my power. And that part right above my belly button sticks out when I'm not in my power, because that third chakra is pushing forward. So it's like I know I'm being more will-based, and I need to be more in alignment and take my power back in some fashion. So my back's not arched forward.
Yes.
So it's like, take my power back and line up that spine.
Yeah. Could you talk about alignment versus powering through? I think that's something that, because that's a key piece. It's not about pushing through and powering through. It's actually about relaxing and putting things in your life that are in alignment. So could you talk about that?
Yeah. One of the first energy healers that I worked with, Linda McCabe, she taught me so much early on. She had taught me that, our back side of our bodies is the will-based side of ourselves. Mm-hmm. And so when you're doing things from a will-based, like you're going to push through your masculine energy, like you're going to push, because that's the divine feminine or masculine energy. The divine feminine is where you sit back and you allow and you receive, and when we do this push, when we're doing instead of being, and we're allowing and receiving as opposed to trying to make everything happen, you then wind up putting, from an energy perspective, they call it the Hara line, which is like a straight energetic line through your body, through the crown of your head and up through the universe. Mm-hmm. That keeps you in what we would call a state of neutrality. You're not. So also when women are too, particularly women, when we are too allowing and receiving and we're more of a doormat, what happens is we shrink the other way. So our chest, like our heart, goes backwards and we get the hunchback on the top.
And we protect ourselves.
Right. Your shoulders go forward. Whereas you're more will-based, like your lower back, you're push, because you're third dimension. Like those are very clear physiological signs that you're way too much in your feminine or you're way too much in your masculine, right? So your feminine is when you're getting the hunchback, you're protecting your heart, and you're not standing your power that way, and you're not also standing your power when you're too will-based and your back is arching forward and you're pushing. And we really have to find this place of neutrality. Eckhart Tolle talks about it, living in the now, living in the present moment. I talk about that from a financial perspective, that so many of us can't even live in the present moment
Right.
or create the future that we desire, because we're living so much in our financial past, which is our debts, that we're weighed down. Like, that's how we acted out financially. But the present moment is all about the flow. Like, I'm a huge believer, take the word budget completely out of your vocabulary. Why?
It's like diet.
Yeah. Who wants to be on a budget? You feel like you're clamped down and you can't do what you desire to do.
And when you have felt that way your entire life, you know, like you were being controlled by everybody else, it's just that you don't even realize that there's another way of being. You're just used to everybody being able to control you because they can pull your strings like a puppet.
Yep.
You know, and you don't even realize that there's another way, because it's all, for me, it was always the way of, how do I get everybody to get along?
Right.
How do I make peace with everybody, without realizing the way to make peace is to stand up for myself.
Totally. Like, I tried to fix everything. And I remember when I first started dating the guy that I'm dating now, he's like, there's nothing wrong with me. You don't have to fix me. I'm like, what are you talking about? And then all of a sudden I started to realize, going, oh, you're right. And I realized that I had fixed that from a business perspective. Like, if my employees are going to show up and they have the tools to do what they need to do, or they're not employed anymore. Like, I did that for years. I also did that within my family. I have 11 brothers and sisters. So we did that there. And then, but from a relationship perspective, I didn't realize how much that it wasn't necessarily, I never saw it as trying to fix it, but I always thought I was just trying to help, but really I was trying to control it so that I controlled my stress.
Yes, that's exactly it. So, and I want to talk about that, because when we're talking about alignment, we're not just talking about, you know, having things in our environment that support us. We're also talking about getting our head brain and our heart brain and our gut brain into alignment. Right. You know, when we talk about that chakra line, we're also talking about all the organs and all the glands that are in that line. And when we get those healthy, when we get those connected, that's when we're in our parasympathetic, rational mind, higher order of thinking. But when we're people pleasing, when we're fixing, many times we're just as narcissistic as the narcissist in our life, because we're trying to fix people. We're trying to control them, impose our will upon them so they become the person we want them to become, instead of realizing that, no, I need to become the person that I'm supposed to become.
It's so true.
It's about me becoming a greater version of myself, not about me getting somebody to stop abusing me.
Right. Because when you shift, everything around you shifts. You know, I remember when I started sending out love and gratitude to my ex-husband for the 4 beautiful babies that he gave me despite our divorce, all of a sudden he started to shift. And it wasn't even a formal conversation I had with him, but it was just about, you know, and I started telling my kids, I'm like, they would complain about their dad to me, and you know, they would complain about me to their dad. You know, it's not like, but I would say to the kids, I go, just give them more love and compassion. And they're like, what?
Right, because that's not what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to fight and you're supposed to control. And when you do that, who are you hurting? You're only hurting you.
I was super clear throughout the whole process. You know, I tried the fight. I had the $600,000 costing divorce in 11 months. I felt like I was being assassinated. We had attorney teams for my kids that were hired from him, from his attorney teams to forensic auditors for my business. Like, it was like attack.
Terrifying.
And every time I'd fight, I'd lose. And I kept going, universe, what in the hell? Like, none of it was logical. None of it. And what I came to realize was that I was not to throw money at the situation, because that was a way of me controlling it. I was not to try to, I was just supposed to set the intentions for what my desired outcome was, and allow the support to come into play. And then all of a sudden, the kid's attorney that he hired all of a sudden started coming to my support, because I was talking about the best interest of the kids.
Yes.
because I wasn't plugged into the fight anymore. But
Yes.
someone has to unplug from the fight.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful. We've had actually a really good past few weeks in a whole new beginning, and it's been beautiful. That hopefully lasts. That this is the new beginning, because that'll be great.
Well, there will probably be bumps, because what happens is the stress, will go high and they'll revert back. But because you've set those boundaries already, you can hold those boundaries. My boundary is when I feel uncomfortable, that's my boundary to back away. And if I need to block you for a while or only talk to you, in a certain way, then that's the way I'm going to do it. Because I'm protecting my right to feel good. I'm protecting my right to have peace and happiness in my life.
Right.
And there has to be a shift from I'm controlling everything to one that, no, I just need to work on me. I just need to work on my emotional triggers and what's going on with me, and realize that all these other factors, people and situations and opportunities, they're taking care of the other person's healing. Right. I don't have to know what they need to heal. I don't have to know in what order. I don't have to know what belief it is, because they probably don't even remember themselves, like you didn't remember with your abuse. They don't know why they're acting the way that they are. They just know they're angry and hurt and upset, and it's your fault.
Right.
And when we live in that sort of situation, us personally, in a constant state of internal crazy, nothing works right. But when you make a conscious choice that you're going to stop feeling crazy inside of yourself and you're going to do whatever you need to do to figure that out, that's when you get your life back. And your money comes back and everything.
I want people to hear that it's not hard to not feel crazy, yet we think it's hard to not feel crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Because all you really have to do is go inside your own heart and say, what is the next right step today? And just align with what's true for you right now at whatever season of life you're in, and use that as the building block to get to then the second next right step.
Because, and it can be a small step.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be huge. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't have to cost a lot of money. It doesn't have to do anything. It's just, it can be simple. You just have to choose for it to be simple.
On a nervous system level, what we tend to do is, you talk about a suffering cycle, is we don't do something that makes us feel good until after we've suffered for a while. As a good Catholic, I thought, oh, I'm suffering, that makes me a good person. And so then I would wait until the sun was shining again, or it was a nice day, or, something changed, or I ate more fiber, and suddenly the mood was gone. Instead of realizing, don't wait for external circumstances to change your internal environment. You need to take steps as soon as you have a negative thought, as soon as you're angry, as soon as you're frustrated, no matter the reason, and take care of yourself. But that's a hard thing. It's because it's a habit to react. It's a habit to protect. It's a habit to fight back. And we need to make a new habit of, when you're upset, you need to go for a walk. And if you're really smart, you went for the walk and it kept you from getting upset in the first place. We need to cut off the reaction. We need to, short circuit it by doing something different as soon as possible. When I'm upset, I do something that makes me feel loved.
And I always tell people, just do what makes you giggle.
Yeah.
Like, I had this person I was talking to yesterday, and they're like, the universe just is not like, everybody else's stuff is showing up for them. I've been doing the work. I'm a hard worker, and all this money was coming in, and now the cash flow the last 2 months have completely stopped. And he goes, and then the universe sends me this thing, and it's this job, and then he goes, you don't even want to know what it is. And so then I just kept hearing this pity party after pity party, pity party. Yeah. And then I said, you know what? The universe is showing you that they're laying you flat on your butt so that you can open yourself up to receiving and allow the support. Because I said, can you tell me by any chance what that job opportunity is? He goes, well, it's $90,000 the first year, and the second year I can get between 175 and 200 because of the time I put in. I go, can you tell me what the number that I told you to put on the fridge on those Post-it notes of the income you want to pull in? He goes, 200 grand. I go, can I ask you why you're not focusing on? I said, does it make a giggle? He goes, it makes me laugh. And I go, do you see how it just showed up in a package that you didn't expect, but it's actually exactly what was on your menu for you to show up. It was part of your dream, but it just came in a package you didn't expect because it derailed you a little bit of what you're currently doing, but it checks all the boxes of what you said you were dreaming of.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, we have to, when those things show up in our life, we have to see where is our head and our ego versus our heart. And his heart, so I'm just like, it makes you giggle. Follow the giggle.
You have to follow
He
that.
goes, okay, I'm going to fill out the application thing for it. Like what the forms they want me to fill. I'm like, and if it keeps opening up, then you're supposed to walk through the door.
Yes.
It's that easy.
So physically, when you started to make those changes, what did you notice in your body, and how did it affect your sensuality, your enjoyment of life, your sexuality, your sex life? How did making those changes really affect you?
Well, I found out that I started to feel. I didn't realize how much I didn't feel. Right?
I agree.
I just, like chalked it up and did it. No different than being the second oldest of 12 kids. It's like I didn't really feel my way through my childhood. I just sucked it up and moved on. And so I started to feel, and all of a sudden I'm feeling things, which actually initially was like a sense of overwhelm because I started to realize how sensitive and sensual I was.
Yes.
That I never even really knew. But yet the work I do is very deep on that perspective. But I didn't parlay that into my personal world. And so as I started to be more vulnerable and open and have more of that space, and grateful for the person who I've been dating that held that safe space for me to feel and be more sensual. Because I kind of always thought like being a chick and wanting to hold your hand and stuff like that. That was not me ever. But I just realized that was me just not wanting to feel.
Yeah.
And now I've come to realize that all those little things actually mean a big deal to me, and they're important to me. And so now I've started to really honor the fact that that's what my true desires are on the inside.
Yeah, to enjoy yourself. And it's very possible to work out a lot of past emotions through a really good, intimate experience with someone, because here's kind of the brain science or the subconscious stuff behind it. When you're feeling good, when you're feeling excited and interested and aroused and all of that, it gives you the ability to face scarier things because you're in a place of feeling really, really good.
Right.
And when you feel really good, you're able to shine that light on the stuff that was hard and painful. And instead of it turning into some weird crying jag in your car in a parking lot, at Best Buy, it turns into like, I just had a bunch of orgasms. What just happened here? It turns into something really wonderful.
Well, and you had taught me that so the work that I was doing as I realized my traumas, that when the body releases traumas, you shake.
Yes.
All of a sudden, when I'm having orgasms, I'm starting to shake. I'm like, oh God. And you're like, this is perfect. I remember talking to you the first time and you going, that's great. You just replaced trauma with an amazing, beautiful experience. Going, oh shit, I want to do that more. I was like,
no kidding. No kidding. You're like, all right, I'm on the trail. Now that I know this is possible, how do I get more of this in your life? Because like, the first time that, you said all that cleared up and your husband didn't trigger you, you're like, what just happened?
yeah,
that was really good. And then once you get a taste of it, you're like, oh no, I'm not letting this go. How do I get more of this? How do I do it again? And you become kind of a little bit obsessed with getting your body back and how much can I enjoy? And what's really in there? Because I remember I'd go to the gynae and she'd be like, wow, your cervix is really tight. And I'd be like, well, it's just the way that I am. And I realized that, no, it was all the stress and the trauma and the tension. It wasn't just the way that I was. Things were supposed to be open and flowing and alive. And that's how we're supposed to feel. And it's totally possible. People are not broken. They are very fixable if they think they're broken. And when you start just doing the work and working with different people, I got help, you got help, coaching and support and energy healers and baths and all of it in alignment, that's when things started to change. And that's when I thought, boy, this next half of my life is going to be way better than the first half. It's going to be a lot more fun.
Yep, there is no doubt.
Cool. Did you have anything that you wanted to make sure that people heard today about money or power and sex? Was there anything top of your mind from your specialty?
You can have it all.
Yeah, you can.
I am a big believer that none of that needs to be negotiated away. None of it. And once we really start to remove all the shame, blame, guilt, and judgment that we have surrounding sex and money, then you can start to actually enjoy it and feel abundant and giggle all along the way. And it's so much more fun. Like we have just created these pain points with money and even the darkness of all the stuff that's come out about sexual molestation over the last year, we're shining the light on the dark, and it's time to now, like, let's take this and have it be like tantric sex and
absolutely,
and bring more abundance and money and like to where all of it's pleasurable and all of it is not seedy and
and dirty and dark and needs to be hidden.
You have to be willing to take that step forward. That's what I want people. So if you've got things that are acting out in your money, I'm giving away a free copy of my book. Just go to juliemurphy.com. I'm releasing a funnel here in the next week or two. As soon as all the technology stuff's done, that all you got to do is pay for shipping of the book, because it is time for all of us to wake up our own internal wealth. And that is money. That is your personal life, your family life, your work life, everything, your relationships. Build your wealth from the inside out. And my book can help you do that. It's really, really important for us all to know that we matter and that it's okay to take that next right step, even if it's very different than the life you're living right now.
And it's interesting because, I try to deal with a lot of my problems at 2:00 on Tuesday with a therapy appointment, every week and I didn't get anywhere because I wasn't really working with the emotional body. I wasn't working with the stress that was in my body. And when I started to go down different rabbit holes and realize how important my body and my sexuality was to my money and to my sense of power, and that I didn't have to do it alone. One of the switches that needs to flip is when we're kids, if we have trauma as kids, or even when we're older, we feel very alone and isolated. It's a secret. Nobody knows what we're going through, and we kind of shut down. And when we realize we don't have to go through this trauma alone, and we're not supposed to, and we can do it in a way that's wonderful, like a really great sexual partner, or like for me, I had a charge on my American Express, and Julie's my wealth management coach, And I had a charge on my American Express that was like 28% interest rate. And I have a bookkeeper in my life because this stuff is scary to me. So, she's like, I noticed that you've got, like $50 at 28%. And I said, I can't call them. I can't call American Express. I said, can we get on a conference call and you talk for me and I give you permission? And she's like, absolutely. And when we allow ourselves to get help for the things which are scary,
right?
Whether it's in our personal life, whether it's our professional life. Yeah.
Over the edge.
Yes. Yes. Don't do it by yourself. And so a $51 charge or whatever at 28%, I would have just left and ducked my head under the covers and hoped that it went away and just dealt with it and been scared and nervous and ignored it. But instead, I found somebody to help me.
Right.
And so
no shame.
You could hold my hand.
Anything regarding that. It's like, okay, yep, I'm pulling in the help. Thank you very much.
Yes. And that's the big lesson. Come out of the shadows, come out of the dark, trust the field,
right.
Find people that you can trust, like Julie and I. And it's not just counseling or therapy. There's so much more involved with your nervous system and releasing of emotions and changing your patterns and getting into alignment. Julie's got me carrying around 60 quarters plus and in a little bag, and I play with them all the time, and I make little patterns and I thank them, and I put in extra coins from Japan with cranes on them and a silver dollar guitar pick. And it's about putting the things in our life that are going to carry us in the direction we want to go. And we do that by finding people who are nice, who we can trust, who can help us through it. I mean, that American Express charge would have been on there till kingdom come, because I was scared and hurt and upset, and I'm like, could you do it with me? Because I just can't call them. It's just too much for me right now. And he's like, no problem.
Right. It's beautiful. It's good
cool
stuff.
Thanks, Julie.
I appreciate you having me today. This has been fun.
Yeah. And if anybody wants to, to get Julie's book, Julie Murphy Coaching, right?
JulieMurphy.com.
JulieMurphy.com. And if you're looking for help with your, toxic relationships, I can help you with the money, and I can help you get your relationships in order.
Mm-hmm.
And so go to RitaHickmanCoaching.com, and you can find out all the ways that I help women, from group work to one-on-one coaching. Julie's been a part of a lot of those things, and I'll be doing a 7-day challenge between Thanksgiving and Christmas. I've decided that I want to give women 7 days of self-care and processing and actually doing the tools. So we're going to give them, small snippet of information and then self-care homework assignment for the community. And it's going to be a 7-day challenge to get ready for Christmas. And then I'm going to be doing a bigger program, a 7-week program in January that's around creating a home you actually want to go home to. Creating a comfortable home. Mm-hmm. So energetically, emotionally, how to get yourself into alignment, and it's super pleasurable. It's like, your homework assignment will be have really good sex, or whatever it may be. We're just starting to get women to take the steps and get the support so that we can step into that feminine power that we need right now.
Right.
Cool.
Totally. Well,
thanks, Julie.
You're welcome.
And Julie and I will be on tomorrow for Awaken Your Relationships tomorrow morning.
9 a.m. Central.
9 a.m. Central. So if you like us, come hang out with us again, and we'll be talking about something having to do with money and sex and power.
Thanks,
Julie.
Bye.
Okay, talk to you later. Bye.